Hey guys, Jason from MotoAuct.com, the world's first online vintage motorcycle auction website. A couple months ago I posted some video of cadmium plating, some hardware we're building for this 1978 Honda CB750 that we're building. A lot of you guys had questions, so I figured I'd answer those questions and show you guys exactly what the process of CAD plating is. If you want to come over here and take a look at the motorcycle, I'll show you what CAD plate looks like after the CAD plating process is done. See here we've got some cadmium. This is not necessarily standard for a 1978 Honda CB750, but as far as accenting some of the colors and as far as the bolts for the cases and frame bolts, we blasted and CAD plated all of those. And I will attempt to explain the process at this point right now. So this is a brake hose bracket for the Honda CB750 that we're restoring. And you can see that it's been pretty weathered. It's been sitting out in the elements for all these years, and the original finish has gone away. The original zinc finish, it did its job over the course of 40 some years, and now it's a little tired. So to get the process started, we're going to bead blast this. So we'll take this over to the scat blast machine, and we will erase all of this weathering and age, and then we'll bring it back and show you the next step after that. So here we are at the scat blast machine. We're going to put this inside. Maybe you guys can get a view of what it looks like when the machine starts to erase all of this age. So basically we're taking this media blaster and hurling wasted bits of glass at this metal, and it's going to scour all of the age and damage and corrosion off of this piece of metal and turn it into a raw piece of metal again. Here we go. You can see how quick the process is. It doesn't take very long. Turn it around, got to get all the surfaces. Make sure you get all the corrosion off. Make sure you get all the bits of grease and dirt and age off of there, because if there's any left behind, the cadmium won't be able to take, and it won't be a successful plating. It'll leave you with tracers, it'll leave you with shadows. All right, we pulled our bracket out of the scat blast machine, and as you can see, there is no corrosion left. This is a raw piece of metal. You don't want to handle it too much, because the oil on your fingers will actually inhibit the CAD plating process as well, but I'll show you a way to get around that too. So what we want to do next is we're going to wire this up and bring it over to the machine, and I'll show you how that works. So we'll take a little piece of welding wire, which I've always used, which is very highly conductive, obviously. And you just take a little piece and you wire the piece onto it. This is called, most people call this is the work. Oh, don't do that, edit that out. And just tie that around, make sure you've got a nice connection and you've got enough length to be able to hang it off of the work and get it into the CAD plate tank. But first things first. Cadmium and the subsequent chemicals in the plating process are very, very toxic, very dangerous. You've got sodium cyanide in there, and that stuff is nasty. So you're going to want to use gloves. Probably heavier than this, but gloves nonetheless, and you're going to want to use a respirator before you get near that machine. You're not going to want to breathe in any of the fumes or any of the off gases from that chemical or that reaction. Come on over to the tank and we'll show you how this all works. So as I told you, there'd be a little way around getting greasy fingerprints off of this, and I just like to take a little bit of brake cleaner and just spray your part down with a little bit of brake cleaner just to degrease. It'll take any residual glass from the blasting process off of there and just kind of clean everything up. You let that evaporate off of there. So this is the cadmium tank. So as you can see, I've got a 30-gallon cadmium tank set up. You've got a combination of sodium cyanide and steam distilled water in here. You've got your positive hooked up to to these two bars on the side. You've got your negative hooked up to where the work is going to be, where the actual work is going to be done. I think we're evaporated here. This looks pretty good. So we're going to come over here. We're going to tie this up to the negative end, dunk that in the tank, wrap our wire around, make sure we've got a nice connection. I've got this great little rheostat here where we're going to regulate our voltage. If you want to come down here and take a look, we'll probably ramp it up to probably 2 or 3 volts, and we want to get this up to probably about 2 or 3 amps. So I'm going to turn the power on, get our 2 or 3 volts going, and it's a small piece, so we'll get about 2 amps going. Take a look at this. You can see the bubbling. You can see the action starting already. So what we've got is we've got a reaction happening between the negative post on our machine, and we've got these cages here are filled with 1 pound cadmium balls. So we've got 6 in each cage. So we've got 24 pounds of cadmium that is now in the reaction process. So it is slowly drawing the cadmium from these cages onto our piece of work. And that's the bubbling process. And what we'll see is we've got about 2 amps going, and once the amperage drops down to just below 0, or just about the 0 point, and the action has stopped in the tank, we'll jump it back up one more time. And what that's going to do is that's going to put the shine on it. That's going to give you a nice shiny piece of metal. All right, you can see the voltage has dropped way down, and if you look up in the tank, you'll see that the action has slowed down quite a bit. It doesn't quite look like a boiling pot of chemical mess. So I'm going to turn it off for just a second before we start it back up again. This is normally not what you do, but I just want to show you what the cadmium looks like. So I'm going to turn it off because we're not powered anymore. I'm going to pull up one of these titanium cages and show you what the cadmium looks like. They're just balls, and there's 6 1-pound balls in there. And they're not quite solid, but this is what the cadmium looks like. It's just it's a hard metal similar to what mercury is going to be. So anyway, I'm going to turn the power back on, and we're going to give it the shine, because once the voltage drops, the part is fully plated, and once we turn it back up, it's going to give it one more good blast of cadmium. And you can see right there, we've got some good action coming on it right now. And once the voltage drops off of that again, we should have a nice shiny part for us to work with at that point. Some examples of cadmium are on this beautiful 1970 Triumph Tiger that Mickey Peters restored. This has been in our shop for a little while now. Mickey has entrusted us to help him sell it on. But if you look at all of the little details, all of the nuts and bolts and all of the washers, Mickey individually plated all of those himself. The cadmium acts as a corrosion prohibitor. Not just beautiful covering for the metal, but for corrosion. In England especially, everything rusts away, and everything on any coastal areas. This acts as an inhibitor for that rust. It'll last for years and years and years, 25, 30 years before it needs to be done. You can see the amps have dropped down to nearly 0, and if you come and take a look at the tank, you'll see that there's not much action left in the tank. And if you can catch just a little view of that, you can see there is some shine to that. I'm going to pull it off of the cathode right now, so I'm going to turn the power off, and I'm going to remove the work from the cathode, and you'll be able to see a nice shiny cadmium plated part. And what we'll do now is we'll take it into the sink in the bathroom. Normally I'll wash it off outside, but since I've only got one piece, we'll just take it into the bathroom. So I've sprayed this off with a little bit of degreaser first, and we'll just submerge it in the water and just let the water wash off the chemical, and that'll stop the plating process. Just give it a good rinse. Doesn't need to take long, just a few seconds, just to get all the chemical off of there. and wash off the sprue wire, just so that way you're not handling it later. You don't want to touch any of the chemical at all. Get a nice rinse on that. You can see a nice, pretty, shiny piece. And I'll show you a little trick with the cadmium here in a minute. So, as you can see, we've got a plated brake hose bracket. It's beautiful. It's nice and shiny, kind of brushed. One thing that will affect the overall finish of your product and your work is the abrasion factor for your media blaster. I don't have the finest media in there. I've kind of got a medium scour on there, so it's not going to give the metal the smoothest finish. And I interchange my media depending on what kind of work I'm doing. But one little trick I can show you for this, you know, to give this a little bit of shine, I can take a little bit of OT4 steel wool, and it really doesn't take much to clean the metal up and to give it a nice shine. If you want to just shine it up just a little bit, you can see a big difference right there. And if you spend just a couple minutes polishing that work up, it's not removing much of the metal as much as it is just kind of smoothing things out and giving it a shine to it. Just back up a little bit. I let this sit on the towel for a little while on the wire because the cadmium and the chemicals will off gas for a little while, and they will basically continue to plate just for a short amount of time after. So I usually let them sit for 20 minutes to a half hour before I come back and do any of this. And again, I'll just show you how quick and easy putting a nice shine on something is with some OT4. Gives it a nice look depending on how you want your finish to look, if you like the brushed metal look or if you like something a little shinier. But there you go, take a look at that. And one step further, if we took this over to the polishing wheel, cadmium is a pretty soft metal. It's not going to go away if we take it to the polishing wheel, as long as we don't polish it too much, but we can turn this into a very, very, very shiny metal. So the choice is yours. All right, I'll show you how we can, after we've polished up our little bit with a bit of OT4, I'll show you how we can take it over to the buffing wheel and make it shiny. If you want this shiny, it'll be as shiny as you want it to be. Just take it over and hit it on the wheel for a little bit. Turn that off. We'll take a soft cloth and we'll shine that up just a little bit. And you can see that almost looks like chrome. Beautiful shine on that. However you want to do it. You can see the versatility of cadmium. Corrosion protection, shine, and beauty.
Okay.
All right, I want to thank you for joining us in our little cadmium plating expedition. I hope you guys have a better understanding as to how this works. Probably several cuts that we're going to be doing and some editing, but the whole process took about 15 to 20 minutes from start to finish from this. Again, my name is Jason from MotoAuct. I've been restoring motorcycles for 20 plus years now. If you guys have any questions, direct them my way. I'd be happy to help you out. Thank you guys for watching.